GM, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Folks, it is the last day of September. Tomorrow, October begins. Many are wondering, is it October or will it be Uptober? And there are signs pointing to yes, indeed, in October is coming. We're going to get into it on today's show. Still no Farouk, no Manda, but we got Logan in the house. Playoffs are live. Logan, GM, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. Yeah, I'm doing well. Feeling a little excited. Rocking the Cubbies hat. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic about our chances here today. And I guess for this first series, playoff baseball is fantastic, though. So can't complain either way. Excited to watch all the games.
It really is. And the weather is going to be seasonably warm for those Cubs playoffs. We're mid-70s, upper 70s, 80s. So I think cautiously optimistic is the correct viewpoint when it comes to any Chicago sports. Cubs playoffs, certainly. So we will be pulling for them here in this house as well. Well, folks, what are we talking about on today's show? We do have a lot to talk about. We'll get into the market report. The SEC wants stocks trading on chain. Swift partnering with Consensus, arguably the biggest news that no one's really talking about. Andre Cronje's back, the $1 billion raise for Flying Tulip. Meteora announced their TGE and a unique airdrop mechanism. We've got Polymarket launching mentions markets for NFL. That was a big one. Hypers are falling. Punk Strategy gets 18. And then if we've got some time to end the show, I want to catch up with Logan on some news from last week that folks may have missed. And yeah, that's what we're going to get into. So with that, why don't we just get into the market report? Charlie, let's hit the intro.
For daily NFT,
There we go.
crypto analysis.
Good time to Charlie.
Tyler D on FOMO Hour cause the kid can't miss.
Ready to patch some barriers.
All right. I do have the screen share up for those who are in the Twitter stream or the Kick stream. We are live on Kick as always. We're also streaming live to X and, of course, the Spaces. Folks, I'll take a look at the crypto board here. It looks like we are selling off a bit. We had an early morning rally. Bitcoin basically flat on the day, 113K. It did touch a bit over 114 yesterday. ETH down 1%, 4140. Solana down 1%. 207. I think it hit 214 or so as well. So we had a deeper Monday rally. It did sell off a bit overnight. Now it looks like perhaps a bit of chop into the end of the month. Taking a look at stocks slightly red today as well. They were green yesterday. I think the big news on the macro front is it does look like a U.S. government shutdown is looming. Stocks pairing gains a bit because of that. Not any kind of a big sell-off by any means. So I know there hasn't been a whole lot of macro news this week. So I think the government shutdown catching a lot of attention. I don't know that it's going to be a huge market impact, assuming it lasts, a week. If it drags out for a significant period of time, I think that perhaps changes the calculus on that. But clearly that is the top story. It seems like the shutdown is happening. Polymarket has the odds 85%. Shutdown 2025, 80% shutdown by tomorrow. So folks think it will happen today very, very clearly. That was the major macro news for the most part that played out overnight. Some impact. Looks like airlines perhaps impacted a bit. Some data out of China, slightly positive. Looked like Chicago PMI was a slight miss this morning here in the U.S., but again, not a whole lot to report. On the stocks front, though, there was one stock that is just going straight to the moon, and that is Robinhood. I'm not sure if folks have seen this. Hood stock, 141. Oh, my. Up 258% on the year. 9 months into the year, this thing's at 140 and up 250%. Wild. Just wild action for Hood. Logie, I'm curious. You have some Hood shares. What is the Hood thesis, and what is the target for this thing? It's trading at 125 billion.
Oh, geez. I'm not the guy to ask about targets, but the thesis from my perspective, I think my average, full disclosure, I do own some Hood stock. I think my average is in like the 35 to 40 range. And my thesis was largely around Robinhood's perceived focus on wishing to become kind of like this everything app, right? Like you can recall perhaps Elon's talk about X wanting to become this everything app. It feels like Robinhood is actually, at least from a financial perspective, has actually gone a long way to accomplishing that, right? It's got all the stock stuff, all the crypto stuff, now the prediction market, the event contract stuff as well. I mean, there's just, if you want to not just gamble, right, but if you want to invest and you want to participate in the financial markets, there's really, as a younger person who's on my phone quite a bit, like there's no easier way, is there, than utilizing Robinhood? Not in my opinion. So that was kind of the thesis. It was that simple for me, and I've been buying weekly, just small bits weekly, but it's added up over time, of course, when you get a big surge over the course of the year.
It's crushing, and it seems like prediction markets have been a fairly big driver of the recent price action.
I think so. Yeah.
I was trying to look for one of the major investment banks had raised their target by like $20 a share, I think from 130 to 150, or maybe it was 120 to 140, and we're already there. But due to what prediction markets would add to their bottom line. And they are clearly growing substantially here and accelerating is the only way to really look at this right now and comment on the growth. So Hood looks good, and so do prediction markets. I think we'll get the final September data in today. I don't know that I have the most recent. I'll try to see what I can get, but I mean, these volumes just broadly are just going straight up and to the right. I think I saw something like Kalshi had $1 billion week last week. That's not reflecting in this dashboard. So this is the week ending September 22nd. Looks like overall 1.3 million, a new high. And it feels like we're going to pass those election highs. It's just a matter of time.
Isn't it so? It's so funny that at this point last year, we were talking about whether or not prediction markets could outlast the election, right? And now the consensus is completely flipped to prediction markets are here and only up and to the right forever and ever and ever.
Forever.
And yeah, forever. And it's hard to disagree. It's funny. I don't want to steal too much away from talking about the mentions markets or anything like that, but there really is an opportunity here for the prediction markets. They can more or less spin up markets about literally anything ever, right? So long as there's clear rules and resolution data available. And that's going to cater to just like this absurdly large demographic of users. Like the total addressable market for a prediction market user is every single person on the planet, more or less, right? Because you can create a market about the thing that they're interested in. It doesn't mean people will use it or that it's the best thing to financialize and gamble on. In fact, in many cases, probably not the case, but it's going to be an option for folks. People that wouldn't have participated in any sort of financial market previously may have an option to do so, given these off-the-wall niche markets that are being spun up everywhere.
I'm trying to pull up. So it looks like one of the mentions from last night's game must be being reviewed right now. But yeah, so I had the post from Tyrell. We had his business partner Kicks on Against the Odds a couple weeks back. They're building a parlay tool for prediction markets, and he's just a great content and analyst for prediction markets overall. He broke the news yesterday, at least how it got to my feed. Parlay market getting into football mention markets. Again, a mention market is quite literally what will the announcers or a specific person say during an event. So now they've got this for NFL games. Some of the ones that you would expect: onside kick, taunting, concussion, Hail Mary. Let's take a look at what did in fact hit. Not a ton of action, $10,000 in volume. So take it with a grain of salt. This is still very, very early here. It looks like onside kick did hit, concussion hit, fumble hit, face mask safety, inch wild.
What are do you mind scrolling to the rules here? Is this based on what the ESPN broadcasts, and does it have to come from like a particular? It doesn't have to come from, like, you could be the color guy or the play-by-play. It doesn't matter, right? Mentions by sideline reporters, rules analysts. So literally anybody. Okay.
If either a play-by-play announcer or a color commentator during its official broadcast.
So it says sideline reporters, studio hosts, rules analysts do not count. Okay, that's interesting. That's a nice wrinkle to know about. Yeah. Nevertheless, I mean, this is, how big Super Bowl props are, right? Like these are the types of things that you would see perhaps on a sports book previously. You would have only seen these on a sports book for the Super Bowl, when things get crazy and everybody's gambling on them. And now they are an option for every single game. I expect these to get bigger, in my opinion. People are watching all the games.
Mostly for like the marquee games, right? Like a Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night. I think for the Super Bowl, this could be like a massive market, though, like millions and millions. And I think it actually might be one of the more interesting ones if you're going to sit and listen with the sound on. So I think it's just another new tick, as they go along and bring new markets. So I think these are going to continue to grow more broadly. The other news out of prediction markets yesterday, I saw this. I tweeted about it. I saw Nick Pressler talking about it. We had him on, founder of Melee Markets. But there was a big roundtable yesterday with some of the heads of leading prediction markets. Shane Copeland was there. Tarek Mansour from Kalshi was there. And Shane was talking to Terrence Duffy, the CEO of the CME group. And at the end of the commentary, Terrence Duffy flips him off. The still of Terrence Duffy flipping off Shane Copeland has already started to go viral. I think we will see it more. I will say Shane kind of deserved it. I don't know if folks have seen the clip, but he's kind of talking about how polymarket prediction markets are an alternative for younger people where they don't have to go to older people's products like CME. And Terrence Duffy hears that, just flips him off. It was funny. Shane laughed it off as well. So I wanted to share that context, because I do think this is going to be somewhat taken out of context a bit. But clearly, I mean, Shane and Tarek on the stage there with some of the biggest heads of traditional finance. So if you want more of an indicator that prediction markets have made it, I mean, here you go. So it looks like they are here and people are finally seriously paying attention. Some other breaking news, more broader markets here this morning, is it does look like the SEC is leaning into stock trading on chain, and they want to move fast. So they're drafting a plan to allow stocks to trade on the blockchain alongside cryptocurrencies. They want to have rules in place to make it work effectively the same. Investors can buy tokenized shares of companies like Tesla or NVIDIA on crypto exchanges. Coinbase and Robinhood lobbying for a fast rollout. This isn't necessarily new. We've been talking about tokenized stocks, tokenized equities for several months now. It does feel like what's new here is the SEC wanting this to happen and wanting it to happen fairly quickly. And Logan, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but I'm curious for your appetite. Like, are you ready to start trading stocks on chain? For me, I'm still I've got a mental barrier between like my crypto assets, my equity assets, but maybe that's a barrier I need to bring down. I'm curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, I to be honest, have no interest in trading stocks on chain. I don't need to, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of conversation about the whole like fee debate, right? Regarding Punkster and whether or not you're willing to acknowledge the fees. For me, I'm totally in that I'm disregarding fee stuff. And I understand that, trading things on chain may reduce some of those frictions and improve my experience over the long run in picking up those, what I'm calling negligible fees at this point in time, but they just don't matter enough to me. Like that's one thing that wouldn't change for me given the size that I'm trading on chain. And to be honest, I don't expect the experience to be any better than it is right now with me just buying hood stock on Robinhood.
Sure.
So perhaps eventually the behind the scenes stuff, right, gets abstracted away and I don't even realize I'm trading on chain. Totally fine with me if that's the case, but I'm not going out of my way to do it right now. It's already easy enough. I have no interest. I don't see the pro personally for myself because I have access to all these American equities on chain as it is right now. For folks who maybe don't have that access, totally get why you would perhaps look to utilize X stocks or any other function which allows you to do so. But for me right now, I don't see the need and no particular interest. I'm not running out of my shoes to get tokenized stocks.
Perhaps the anonymity of it would be one potential bull case of fully on chain, versus your traditional financial players. But I don't know if that's a use case you and I are specifically interested in as much. You're right. I mean, it is still very easy. I sold some meme coins on Solana and moved USDC to my Robinhood wallet in two minutes a month ago to make a quick trade. So the barriers aren't really that big. I still do think it's interesting. I do like the ability of being able to do everything.
Yeah. I think the most important part, yeah, exactly what you just said, being able to do everything on chain. And I keep using this word enmeshment. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's what this is, right? I mean, we're putting together traditional financial mechanisms and instruments and infrastructure with crypto and blockchain. And the further you entwine those things, the greater those ties deepen, the harder it is to unravel it all, for good or for bad. And I think that ultimately just means, this is the further validation of crypto for our lifetimes, I would imagine, right? Like these types of things. Consider how difficult it is to move any sort of legacy infrastructure, to the next stage. This is happening quite rapidly. I can't imagine, it's going to eventually be unfolded in any amount of time.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. So I want to keep moving forward through the market report. ETFs, big boom yesterday. So I'm looking at the ETH ETFs right now. 547 million in net inflows, at breaking a pretty rough 5-day red stretch of outflows. So a huge day there for the ETH ETFs. And interesting, I'm looking at BlackRock. So ETH A was 150 million. I believe that still reports a day in arrears. So that would be the Friday numbers. I expect this to likely be green again today. And then on the Bitcoin side, a touch lower. Man, ETH 518 million in net inflows. Let's look for IBET. So IBET was red. So expect big green numbers again for the Bitcoin ETFs today as well, which perhaps gets into our lead question. We kind of buried the lead. Looks like we're kind of chopping around a bit to end the month. We had some big news out of our single biggest KOL in crypto. It's probably a battle between Michael Saylor and our friend CZ. He's saying, not predicting the future and don't get too excited. A September in a past, my first crypto cycle, just data. And he is linking a screenshot of what happened to Bitcoin in the month of October in 2017. Notably, he screenshots the 4th at 4 a.m. So double force from our friend CZ. And for those who aren't looking at the screen, on October 4th, Bitcoin was $4,319. It ran to 17,000 by the end of the month in a 4x move. And I don't think anyone is expecting a 4x by any means, but I think folks are expecting in October. There's definitely still a lot of bearish sentiment on the timeline. Fear and greed reflects that. Fear and greed at 43, I saw just this morning. How are you feeling, Logan? Do you think we're going to get the October?
Man, I don't like fading these folks who are so close to the, to the action. CZ, of course, is always bullish, right? So it's really not too much out of the norm for him to be posting about price go up, but it does feel like, things have just been bubbling. Like I said, I've felt cautiously optimistic this entire time. I think the one thing that kind of holds everybody back is just you don't want to get your hopes up, right? Like we don't want to get our hopes up for this massive run and then sort of feel deflated when we only get to 120K or whatever. But at the same time, if you kind of like take a step back, it's so boring, but you take a step back, Bitcoin just chilling above 100,000 as our base case is like, come on. That's pretty awesome. So I'm not feeling too bad. I feel pretty good. I don't foresee like the explosive run. It's difficult for me to see that right now, that 4X type thing. Like, I don't think we're going to 500,000. It's difficult for me to even see like the 250,000 by year end, which has been predicted by lots and lots of people who have, I believe still stood by those marks. But as this market does from time to time, it creates unfathomable events. like what we've seen in the last week with things like Aster and beyond, those unfathomable events have not really happened with the majors in quite some time. So if you believe in we're due, yeah, maybe. I'm just feeling cautiously optimistic. I think up and to the right throughout the year. I expect we finish the year higher. I don't necessarily think we're going to be like exploding, whatever, $200,000 and $250,000.
I think I'll go ahead and go on the record and say new all-time highs in October. Looking at the historical trends, and yes, I'm very well aware it's a small sample size and historical patterns don't reflect future trends. Every single time there's been a green September, October has been green. It's 4 for 4, another 4. I do think that likely will continue. I feel like we're going to get some positive news out of the U.S. government. We've got Bitcoin lagging into so substantially. You don't even necessarily need a catalyst for us just to start to catch up to that huge lag in how Bitcoin's been lagging effectively the inflation of our money supply. I'll say 15%. This is my gut read. Finger swag in the air. Looking at this chart, what do I think we're going to get in October 25? I'll say 15%. That puts us at 130. So yeah, I'll go on the record, say Bitcoin 130 in October. We will see if that does take place. I'm sure we will revisit this chart a bit as October goes on. September, I mean, it does feel, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It does feel like it's probably going to close green, right? Like we would be facing a fairly significant sell-off to close the month red at this point. Bitcoin's up 4% on the month, so we would need to see like 108.5. I think that would be a surprising outcome today. But we will see. It happened last week, so certainly in the realm of possibilities. But feeling cautiously optimistic about October here in northern Chicago. Let's start going through the headlines. It was kind of a slower day for the market overall. Arguably the biggest headline of the day that, again, I haven't really seen a whole lot of folks talking about is Swift teaming up with Consensus to build this blockchain prototype. So I wrote about it in the newsletter this morning. Feel free to go check that out on Substack or over on Decrypt. But basically, Swift said it is going to add a blockchain ledger to its infrastructure. It's going to use a conceptual prototype built in partnership with Consensus. The first use case is instant, always-on, interbank cross-border payments. So 24/7 payments on-chain globally across the world. It will be run or operated by enforced via smart contracts. So there will be rules via smart contracts enforcing this payment network. And they've got a coalition of 30 plus institutions already plugged into this, effectively the biggest in the world. Bank of America, Citi, among those names. Not yet specified where this will be, if it will be on ETH mainnet, if it'll be on Linea or elsewhere. But I think folks are already starting to jump to conclusions that the fact that they're working with Consensus means this will be on ETH in some capacity. I saw DC Investor tweeting about this. For those who don't know, Consensus is an OG Ethereum venture development org created by Joe Lubin, an Ethereum co-founder. I think there's a lot of winners here. I wrote about them. I'm actually curious for your take, Logan. Do you think this is going to be on Ethereum? Is Ethereum potentially the biggest winner here? And who else some of the winners might be?
Yeah, I think Ethereum is certainly a winner. Whether or not it's Ethereum or an Ethereum adjacent, what they called it a prototype, right? In the press release, one way or another, it's going to be aligned with the Ethereum ecosystem. That's what Consensus is all about. That's what Linea is about, of course, right? And Joe Lubin and all his ventures at this point in time have been directly tied to and supporting the Ethereum ecosystem. So I fully expect Ethereum to be a winner here. My perspective on this announcement as a whole is like, I don't think the actual details of this matter all that much. And it's kind of lame, but to me, this feels like a win because you have the banking sector, right, which has long been sort of a fighting against sort of embracing. And I think that's necessary, right, for that greater global adoption, all that stuff that we've been talking about. It's a sort of lame answer, but I ultimately believe that that is truly the best thing that happens here is you have legacy financial institutions embracing and hopefully seeing the benefits and positives of crypto and blockchain and forevermore utilizing it in some way. That's the hope, right? And that's what gets you up into the right kind of forever thing. So yeah, that's where I say I don't know too much about like exactly what's going to happen here. I read the article, of course, so Swift doesn't actually do anything with the money. It's just the messages of the institutions back and forth, like all the cross-border stuff. So that's, of course, what a ledger would keep track of. So I don't know exactly how much those finite details matter or how much data either, right? Because if you take a look at this article that Stacy wrote over at Decrypt, like Ethereum did like 1.4 million messages or something like that yesterday. I don't know where it's out there. And Swift, like on a daily level, Ethereum mainnet processed 1.4 million. Swift did 53 million. So of course we're not anticipating that like all of Swift is transferring over. Nobody said that or anything like that. But understanding just how much capacity is here and how much it could eventually steal, we'll see. Yeah.
Indeed. I think this does kind of make me think L2s of some kind would have to be involved. And again, this is a bit over my area of expertise. It does feel like signal just from the capitulation of another TradFi giant moving on chain. Also, the bull case for Ethereum was largely the world computer, right? And I think that thesis was trumpeted loudly as the price was going up, but it's since kind of fallen off, right? I haven't heard as many ETH bull takes after the 20% pullback from all-time high, which I think most are largely given credited to the DATs, Bitmine and SBET for taking it to those levels. But that is aside from the core use case of the protocol. And I think this certainly makes sense for it to be on Ethereum in a lot of different ways. So clearly a sign that they are building. I think part of the core bull case for Linea itself, whether or not Linea is included in this prototype or not, is that Joe Lubin has the connections to make this kind of building happen, either on Ethereum or on Linea, perhaps even down the line, right? So just because you or your friends may not be using Linea on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't mean that some of the biggest players in the world.
Yeah. And speaking of those biggest players, Tyler, like I was looking at the Swift press release, like the actual release from Swift. There's quotes from nearly all of those big banks and the leaders and representatives for those banks you mentioned, Citi, BNY, Royal Bank of Canada, right? It's a global adoption here. And if you just read through them, I mean, it seems like these folks know this is the path, right? They have to do it at some point. It makes sense to do it now, and they are engaging and don't really see any way to avoid it. That's my read from like even just reading through some of these quotes. One of the quotes here, I've actually got to pull up from BNY. Focus on the evolution of payments infrastructure to meet the demands of an always-on global economy. I mean, that's it, right? Like that's crypto, an always-on global economy. These institutions recognize that that's where everything is headed. That's what's a necessity moving forward. You have to integrate in some way. And that's where you get the up and to the right, in my opinion.
Indeed. So this will be another big story to continue to watch. Other than that, I'll just kind of rapid fire go through a few of the other headlines. So the SEC and CFTC pledging closer cooperation on crypto market oversight. I don't think a lot of huge takeaways from this. I think we've kind of seen this writing on the wall. I did see Chair Atkins say that crypto is his top priority. Which I feel like maybe we have interpreted a bit as CT natives, those who are following what the SEC is doing on a very close basis. But when I have conversations with folks like in investment banking who are outside of crypto, their default take is that the SEC does not care about crypto at all. Like I've had that literal conversation. So at least Atkins is saying, no, it is our top priority. So maybe folks will start to take that a bit more seriously. And then I think other big headlines. Let's just start going down the risk curve a bit here. Andre Cronje is back. $200 million seed round at a $1 billion token valuation for Flying Tulip. And then when you read into this, so first off, we'll start about what it is. New crypto project, DeFi veteran Andre Cronje they're looking to build an on-chain exchange that spans all of DeFi. So spot trading, derivatives, lending, stable coins, and insurance under one system. I was trying to wrap my head around this morning. Does this exist on chain right now? All of these things. And no, I mean, nothing pops to the top of my head. And I'm not a DeFi expert by any means. But it does feel like I do see the use case for this. I guess it is where I'm going. Big vision, certainly. He's had success in the past. He's had failures in the past as well. But perhaps what's even more interesting about this is they're going to keep selling. They're going to sell $800 million worth of these Flying Tulip tokens via an ICO on their own platform at that same $1 billion valuation. So $200 million private ratings, $800 million in a public ICO. Big numbers here. $1 billion valuation for a protocol that isn't really established yet. I mean, I haven't taken a look under the hood to see exactly where this thing is, and maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. I don't see dates in this article, so I don't necessarily know this is going to happen like next week by any means. But Sonic certainly already moving on this. I think Sonic was a top mover in all of crypto yesterday on the back of this, one of Andre's other protocols. Logan, curious if you saw this, any broad reactions, or are you buying the ICO?
Maybe. Did you see? I think the most interesting part of this is that on-chain redemption right, which is basically that, like, you know, these folks who have participated in the first 200 million. I'm not sure if the additional 800 million have the same opportunity, but more or less, their like downside is completely protected. They can redeem that initial capital at any point in time. So I think Andre had a quote in here. I'm not sure if it's from the block or maybe another publication, where he basically said that they raised $0, right? Because they're offering these back via redemption, which is interesting. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Both private and public.
So they're not getting access to any of the funds.
Well, it's a little funky because, right, they are using what's raised to then generate yield to then, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure the firm details. I didn't go super in depth on it. Sure. But all that to say, like, you know, this is a space in which, you know, people are fully expecting to lose their principal on a daily basis, right? Like, that's kind of the name of the game. That's how it works in venture anyway, but particularly here, I would imagine, and sort of bucking all trends with saying, hey, you know, you have the opportunity to pull your money back, I believe at any time. So interesting. We'll see how that unfolds. It would be kind of cool. I mean, it's a little weird to say because it sounds like I'm sucking up to the VCs and folks who would, who are ultimately going to benefit the most here, right? With no downside and all upside. But it would be cool to see, you know, more trends like this in the future. Should it actually protect and work out for investors?
Risk-free VC investing.
Yeah, risk-free VC investing. Sign me up.
And clearly at a higher valuation, right, than you would probably normally get. But I mean, some folks who took part in the pump ICO probably would have thought about doing redemption if they could have, right? Token traded at almost a full 50%.
Yeah.
Discount. So you do hedge that risk. I'm curious what it means for the potential upside. We'll see. But yeah, if this goes well, I do think this definitely increases their chances of fulfilling the raise, right? Like, you are officially getting all the upside with no downside, other than just opportunity cost of your capital, basically, which is rare. And it does, at an $800 million size, it probably also takes a bit away from the trenches. It takes a little bit away perhaps from some of these other tokens, right? There is one large hot ball of money here. And this is largely going to be coming from funds and not just your average day-to-day meme coin trader or hyperliquid trader. But not a huge stretch to think that it will siphon off a bit of that. So another big story to watch. I'd say the other biggest one on chain was some of the news we got out of Meteora. I'm going to try and see if maybe I don't have it pulled up. So give me a second while I try to pull that up. But Meteora did announce their TGE for October 23rd. And they also have a fairly unique airdrop mechanism that will be a part of that MET TGE. And they're effectively giving people LP positions. So instead of getting MET tokens, you will be given, I didn't have a chance to really dig into this. I believe MET LP positions is what the specific LP will be. They're calling it the liquidity distributor. Meteora will be distributing liquidity positions tied directly to the protocol. It will come in the form of an NFT, and it will already be active in generating fees. So pretty cool. I mean, you would have to already be into LPing to be qualified for this airdrop. So it's not like they're sending LP positions to folks who wouldn't know how to manage that. Seems a kind of a cool reward. Perhaps also diminishes sell pressure right out of the gate. Curious for your takes, reactions to this.
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting to kind of meet the user where they're at, right? You're providing them with the same exact thing that they've been providing for you, or for the protocol, I should say, since they started participating. So I think this is interesting, and I love, as you know very well, Tyler, I love anytime that a protocol or someone is taking a chance on something new. So we'll see exactly how it plays out. The one thing I would say is, while folks participating should know and will know, just the complexities involved here in doing something different, open up execution risk and stuff like that, perhaps, goes unforeseen in their plans. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have too much else to say about it. Just eager to see exactly, how it transpires and how people feel about it. I know a lot of people, particularly during those really big meme coin launches, right, were looking to utilize things like Meteora to do this very thing, right, to provide liquidity and generate those fees instead of trade the token. So we'll see how it goes.
It's interesting. So reading through exactly how this will work. So and I guess this is the logical conclusion. I hadn't spent a whole lot of time thinking about this, but as a traditional LP, so as the price of MET goes down, ultimately your LP position will turn it more and more into a full MET token with 0 USDC. As the token goes through a higher range, you will then effectively start selling your MET tokens and you'll have more USDC. So it kind of automates the selling process based on what the range is. I'll be very curious what that initial range is. Because if there's a situation where if the token pops on debut, all their airdrop recipients sell basically right away if they don't manage their positions.
Right. If they don't manage them. Yep.
And then they're effectively given USDC without the option to sell at higher prices. Then on the flip side, if the token dumps, then they'll end up with more MET tokens. But I don't know if that's as bad of a situation on paper, given that it was all a free airdrop to begin with. So yeah, this is going to be very curious. I think there's been a lot of talk about how Pump may do their airdrop, right? And there's some speculation that they wouldn't just give Pump tokens, and maybe they would give SOL or USDC. Could we see Alan and team follow some kind of a similar model, right? Like I do see the value in it.
Yeah, the other thing, like I said, to meet them where they're at. If you're Pump, maybe it's and I'm not suggesting that this would be welcomed or wanted, but maybe it's you're providing a portion of the meme coins that have been generated on the platform. Like people are getting fart coin airdropped or some shit. I don't know exactly what it might be, but that would be the type of thing, right? That would kind of match this in providing back what the users have already been participating with.
Man, speaking of fart coin, we haven't talked about it a ton this week. We usually bring it up with Farouk, so I'll do my best to bring it up with Adam. It's not great, certainly. So We peaked at $1.60. When was that? July 23rd. And then it's effectively been down only since then. So down a full dollar. So that's 60%, 65, 70% drawdown. I was mentally prepared for this. I thought it would draw down into Q4. I've seen the calls like, why would you want to own a pure meme like Fartcoin when you can buy these protocols that have real revenue? They're doing buybacks. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think certainly the lure of Hyperliquid, the lure of Aster, of XPL, of Apex, Stable, all of these new tokens, right? It does detract away. And I think that's certainly driving some of the sell pressure that we are seeing. I am curious if and where it finds a bottom. I think Mando on the show previously did say he doesn't think it's going to go below 500 million. He thinks it's a $500 million meme, kind of at a minimum, or kind of right at that key support. And I'm not, again, a TA guy. It looks like 560, 580 is a key level. We bounced off that, but still in a clear downtrend. So we'll see.
Yeah. I still think this is, I'm with you on the revenue generating protocols. This sort of return to fundamentals as far as crypto goes. Return isn't probably the right word. I'm not sure it's ever been about fundamentals, but maybe making our way there. If memes are going to go up, those pockets of periods when memes do go up, this still feels like one of, if not the strongest narratives on the board. Mindshare.
Logan.
Sorry?
Thank you for saying that.
Yes, of course. And I have some on a ledger somewhere that I haven't touched in months, but otherwise don't own very many fart coins in total. So just a full disclosure there. I don't see a world in which memes pick up steam and this does not go up. That's just, okay. I think the narrative is too strong. To me, it has cemented itself as like a seems crazy, but
multi-cycle
meme. A multi-cycle meme. Yeah, it really has. And I don't know why. Like, I don't have super strong conviction on like $5, $10 fart coin or anything like that. But I feel pretty convicted in the floor here. So as Mando is saying 500 million, I think that seems fair. I don't see it going, too far below where we're at now.
It's also it's a momentum asset. It's reflexive. I do think as soon as you start to see a couple big accounts say like, oh, I think Fartcoin's a buy here, and the price starts to go up, I could absolutely see folks start to pile back into this thing.
Yeah.
Ibra says everyone buys Fartcoin at the price they deserve. I agree with that.
This is also, as far as memes go, and one of the reasons I still cling to this being one of the strongest narratives is like, if one is going to gather the mainstream attention, recall all the newspaper headlines and stuff like that for making fun and the mockery of crypto and tokens and meme coins. This is still like the top one, right? In my opinion, it is like the one that is most likely to generate those types of headlines, aside from Dogecoin, right? And Dogecoin is something different entirely at this point in time. So I'm still here. I'm still here with it. I wouldn't be writing this off and never paying attention to it again.
I'm with you. I still think we see higher in Q4. I'm going to stick to my guns on that prediction. I'm been holding through it. I do think a couple positives. One, we knew it was an incredibly crowded trade at $1.60 on this whole grind up. I do think it's becoming less crowded. And then it was a very delta neutral trade. So like all the pumps were very limited and compressed because people were also, buying spot or selling short or the opposite. And it was very profitable to do that. And I feel like that's been unwound a bit during all of this as well. And there's other areas with better funding rates to do that. So I think those are a couple big shifts. I haven't taken a look at holder count, so I'll pull that up sometime as well. But we'll see. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but perhaps nearing the bottom on our good old friend. Continuing to go through some of the risk curve items. Then Logan's going to catch us up on a few pieces of news here in a minute as well. Punk Strategy bought their 18th Punk yesterday. Man, that wallet looks nice. Holding 18 of these things. Token a bit volatile, saw a little bit of sales, but kind of just grinding back up. It's hanging out at 85 million within 10% of all-time highs. So The strategy tokens continue to do well. I think Adam came out with a post yesterday. They've paused the new launches. They want to work through all the bugs and all the contracts. Once they feel good about that, they're going to restart. So there's also a near-term catalyst as soon as the next series of these gets going.
The other thing about this is like ranging doesn't matter, right? It's just collecting fees, trading fees, right? I mean, that's kind of like one of the really nice things about these.
I'm not even ranging. Like as a holder who I do believe in this long-term, and disclosure, I do own some. I was happy that it sold off, this huge sell-off, that FUD sell-off on Sunday, I think it was. Maybe Saturday, early Saturday. Because it generated a ton of fees.
Right. That's what I mean. Like
it led to its buying a punk. So I think volatility is great.
Right. You don't need to be discouraged. I mean, it's so long as this continues to be traded, like I think that's one of the genius things about this is like, so long as people are trading it, you're kind of winning. You know what I mean? Even if price isn't going up, because collectively the goal is to keep buying more punks and hopefully eventually sell them as well.
Yeah. And the next punk they buy, so they've got 18, they will be in the top 50, which is kind of nuts. So expect that to happen perhaps as soon as today, if not today. I say it will happen tomorrow.
There must be a world in which punk strategy is the biggest punk holder, right? There hasn't been like an explicit stated goal to do that though, right? Holy shit.
Yeah.
414.
It's going to be tough. OTC owns one of his OTC owns 115.
God, the burn address has 294 punks.
It's hard to, I don't know. The path to 115 still feels far.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's very far off. And I know this is part crypto ethos, right? With the smart contracts and everything like that. So it would be a little weird if, Adam said something, about rallying behind a specific goal. That would just seem maybe a little adjacent to what's happening here. But at the same time, I think the community could really rally behind trying to, like flip the burn address or some shit like that. Yeah,
definitely. So, we'll need punks to go on some runs, I think, for that to happen. Perhaps, actually, I haven't sat down and thought about what the optimal outcome is. You don't want them to become too expensive because then it'll be too hard to continually buy them. But you want those punks that they own to sell too. That's where the excitement's going to come from. So it's almost like you want a big pump, pull back, big pump, pull back.
Yeah.
Probably optimal.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. There's some stuff coming up for punks though, too. I mean, this was a small headline from yesterday, but I don't know if you saw that the Node Foundation indicated the dates for the opening, right? So Punk's IP was Yuga Labs sold the Punk's IP earlier this year to the Node Foundation. They're going to set up this space in Palo Alto for folks to better experience, this digital exhibition of CryptoPunks. I don't exactly know what it'll look like or anything like that, but I believe yesterday was the day that they sort of opened up waitlist stuff for being at the opening. So that's a little ways off. It's in January, so it's not an immediate catalyst or anything like that, but perhaps savvy investors looking to get ahead of that would start running up the floor price ahead of time.
Very possible. I think the other takeaway, since Punk Strategy has been on the scene, there really has not been a whole lot of other buying. So if anyone steps in to buy punks like this, that's also going to help. And it feels like nobody has. It's been pretty quiet over the last few weeks. Maybe somewhat surprising, but maybe not. A lot of the big dogs are out traveling, the conference tours. The market's been kind of in a weird place. Like some folks thought maybe the top was in. So I think perhaps bullish run on majors in October probably resets NFT sentiment as well. And with the punk strategy backdrop, I mean, has it ever been safer to buy a punk? Probably not.
I was just going to add, I mean, don't you think the narrative here is just getting stronger daily for punks? I mean, consider what we were just discussing with Swift potentially having some overlap with Ethereum, right? And all of these institutions, major, massive global institutions, participating alongside Ethereum and very much cementing themselves in this ecosystem, albeit participating in a different way, but very much being here probably forevermore. Doesn't that strengthen? To me, that just strengthens this narrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every single macro bull story for ETH and probably for broader crypto matters a bit for punks.
And it's impossible to zoom out as far as you need to for an asset like punks, in my opinion. And I don't have any exposure to punks. I'm a former crypto punk owner, but I have no exposure at all. But it's difficult for me to see, like, these banks and stuff, they work so slowly. These financial institutions and whatever, all this stuff just happens so slowly. Like, it's going to be adopting things for 10, 20, 30 years. It's impossible for us to zoom out that far. But when you do get there and you look back, I mean, these are antiques, these are relics. Think about just how much that stuff goes for. Maybe I'm talking myself into finding exposure to a punk in some way.
Dip, right? So, like, let's look at the price floor. So the floor is much higher when I bought my second. The floor was basically $250K back then. Let's see. So, I mean, it is, if we zoom out a bit. So, okay, wow, it dipped all the way to 168 last week. I guess that was when ETH was plunging. And
yeah, if you
went down to 44. So that was a very nice dip.
If you want a small Logie anecdote, Tyler. So the punk that I bought, I purchased with some friends in 2021, February of 2021. It was the largest single USD purchase of my life up to that point. And I bought a fraction of the punk. We bought it for $11,000. It was like 6 ETH or something like that. I think we bought it from Dees, or Dees at least helped me facilitate it via the CryptoPunks Discord. We sold it in the Visa run up, which was nice. It was a life-changing, it was a life-changing thing for me. So, I don't feel bad about having sold it. But kicking myself, for all those times we were on the conversations in the doldrums, of time when we were talking about, 25 ETH, things like that. Like, kicking myself for not gaining exposure back, despite, maintaining this level of conviction about these are going to be here forever. So
let's look at some historical trends. So November 2022, somewhat of a bottom. Punk floor rips 50% into December 2024. We have a bottom 65K in mid-October, runs all the way to 3Xs in 2 quarters. 2024, we see a bottom in August, another bottom in November, and then straight up Trump election. Basically, 1.5X, almost 2.5X rather. And we'll see if history repeats. We're going to be starting from a higher place this year. So it'll be fun to watch. We talked about zooming out. Are you ready to zoom out on hypers, or do we need to stay zoomed in a bit more? I almost capitulated into this, but luckily I didn't have an easy path to 60K. Now the floor has been dipping. Maybe you can argue maybe you're starting to see a little bit of a curl here. I probably want to see a little bit more. So the hyper floor was over 1,400 hype yesterday. I think it was 65K at peak. It's down to 1,200 now. It's probably closer to 55K. So still a very high floor.
Yeah, these are pretty good, man. I have not explored the collection really, but just taking a look at this, you've got a little bit of something for everyone here. You've got the golfer. I love the baguette and beret combo, the skateboard. They're pretty nice. I like them. But to answer, I mean, I think you zoom out a little bit. You let some more time pass. You let some of the momentum fade. You let some of the euphoria sort of drain out. Like I said before, hype has enriched a lot of people. It enriched 4,000 others, or some fraction of that in the last few days here. You got to let some of those people take that money off the table and see kind of where a true floor establishes. This is the airdrop floor right now, just like with tokens that come out first day or two. I don't always act on those instincts appropriately to sort of let things chill out. We're always too eager, too excited. But if I have no interest in buying one of these, but if I were looking to buy one, I would give it some time.
Yeah, I think unless there is an announcement or an airdrop of some kind to hyper NFTs, like another hyper protocol, in the absence of that happening soon, I still think that it's probably lower before higher. Is my gut read on this. But man, I can't argue with Like these things are actively being swept. There's been 5 sales in the past 10 minutes at a 50K floor. Like that is crazy liquid. 1.8 million hype in 24-hour volume. That's $80 million. Significantly above everything else that's happening in NFTs right now. So it does feel like it will be a catalyst, but because it's in the hyper EVM ecosystem, I don't think the people who are getting these airdrops and selling are selling to buy other NFTs necessarily. Maybe someone who got a lot sell 3 and get a punk, maybe. But I don't know. They're probably just rotating to spot hype. Is my gut on this, which is also why, in general, I am bearish on hype assets because people love the token so much.
Yeah.
That if you think hype's going to 100, do you think it's going to hold its floor in hype? I don't know. I think that's the bet, right? So if you're buying the NFT, you do ultimately want to trade it for more hype at some point.
Yeah. If this were me, I would be taking the 1200 hype. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Over the hyper.
For sure. And a lot of people clearly are. I would love to see the stats on what percent of the airdropped NFTs have already churned through versus still are originally held. So maybe I'll try to find that before tomorrow's show. We thought we were going to go maybe 45 minutes today. We went the full hour, folks, but that is going to end up being it. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today. I want to thank Logan for stepping in and co-hosting again. He'll be on with us for the rest of this week. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern for another episode of FOMO Hour. Till then, go make it a beautiful day. Goodbye.